the counter-terrorism drive that is happening in Pakistan different this time?
Well, yes and no. The biggest difference is that we are seeing reports that this time the security forces are apparently making moves against terrorist groups and militant groups in Punjab province, which has so far not been the subject of any major anti-terror drive. You must remember Punjab is a very, very key province because it is the most populous province. It's also the most prosperous province. It's also the province that forms the stronghold of the ruling PMLN party and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. It seems now that their hand has been forced because in recent years there have been several very, very big terror attacks in Lahore, in other cities of Punjab, and we had one during this latest wave of terror attacks, which was in Lahore.
So my question again is this strategy winning? Because we just had another suicide bombing. Just 2 days into this drive, there is another attack.
We have to look at the larger picture. Pakistan has done several drives. One, there was a drive about 2008, 2009, when the Taliban came into the Swat Valley, but then they targeted only the Pakistani Taliban. Then there was the drive called Operation Zarb-e-Azab, which targeted the militant bases in the tribal areas bordering Afghanistan. Now we seem to have something that is a bit more broader. We've had reports of sweeps even in Sindh province, in Punjab province. In that sense, it is different. But the biggest problem for me is that Pakistan, whenever it has conducted these anti-terror operations, it has sought to differentiate between the good militants and the bad militants. The bad militants are the ones that attack Pakistan, but the good militants are the ones such as Jaish-e-Mohammed or Lashkar-e-Taiba, which have traditionally targeted India. Usually these groups have not been targeted in these operations, but we have to keep in mind that recently Hafiz Saeed has been placed under house arrest. There are reports that he has been listed in under the Anti-Terror Act. So these, we don't know whether this is going to be part of a larger crackdown that will also take in the Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, which is ultimately what countries such as India and other countries in the region will be looking at.
Speaking of good terrorists and bad terrorists, it is very interesting that the defense minister of Pakistan went on to a security conference in Munich to say that Hafiz is the leader of the Jamaat Dawa, who is the mastermind of Mumbai terror attacks, poses a threat to Pakistan. I mean, this is something of a new approach. Do you agree?
Well, again, you have to keep in mind how Pakistan has done some things for a domestic audience and some things for an international audience. There has been, in the last few weeks, considerable pressure on Pakistan from an organization based in Paris called the Financial Action Task Force. Now, the FATF basically monitors financing for terrorist groups, and there have been several reports that the FATF, due to pressure from India and the US, has been looking very, very closely at the finances of Hafiz Saeed, the Jamaat Dawa, and the Falah-e-Insaniyat Foundation. So one would have to, take this in a sort of a balanced way. The defense minister going to Munich and saying that Hafiz Saeed is a threat to Pakistan is something that could be aimed at the international community and the FATF. I would be, more surprised if the defense minister were to come back and make that same comment in Lahore. Then I would possibly, give it a bit, take it a bit more seriously.
Speaking about international community, is Pakistan's counter-terrorism drive something to do with the change of guard in the US? Is Pakistan trying to show that it is acting on terrorism because Pakistan is dependent on a lot of aid, including military aid from the US? Now that the Trump administration is in, it wants to appear to be showing much more of a resolve to fight terrorism. What is your opinion?
Well, again, we have to wait and watch because there is no doubt that the Pakistan government has been rattled by reports that the Trump administration could extend a travel ban that was for 7 Muslim majority countries to Pakistan. You will have noticed that in the past few months, both Republican and Democratic lawmakers have been very, very critical of Pakistan's record in counterterrorism. There have been several instances when funding has been cut, both militarily and economically. There was a move to subsidize the sale of some F-16s to Pakistan, but due to blowback from the senators, that subsidy had to be dropped, and ultimately Pakistan couldn't pick up those F-16s. So there has been pressure developing on different fronts, on the economic aid front, and you must remember, economic aid from the US accounts for a huge chunk of the aid that Pakistan has been getting since 9/11. There are also reports that China, while it has been blocking the move to sanction Masood Azhar at the UN Security Council, has been putting some sort of pressure on Pakistan to clean up its act as far as terrorism is concerned, mainly because of the China-Pakistan economic corridor. And we'll just have to wait and watch. And basically, the whole thing for India, I think, is we have to wait and watch whether these, picture that is coming in, these small pieces of the puzzle that are emerging, whether that points to a larger drive against groups which have traditionally targeted India, or whether these are just moves aimed at satisfying the West and making sure that Pakistan doesn't get targeted with any fresh sanctions or any other punitive measures.
That was our quick take on the counter-terrorism measures being taken by Pakistan. Thanks for watching.